Ladies
Evening,
and gentlemen.
No. Welcome back to Zesty's Best Bets. The return of Zesty this week, which means the return of the college lightning round. It's week 13 of the NFL season. We'll start you off with Zesty's NFL picks, as always. Happy to have you back. We're recording now live as the Thursday night game is in the fourth quarter. So we can do live updates on that. CD Lamb with the first down, 7 minutes left. Zesty, your first pick on the board is Jets +3. Going home versus the Falcons. Tell me why you have any faith in the Jets.
Yeah, let's not boil the ocean here.
Yeah, honestly, it's relatively profitable to. So, Falcons last week were a home favorite. It's the Saints. They won. They covered. So, home favorite, the road favorite. It's pretty profitable to actually fade teams in that trend. I have zero faith in the Jets, but it's still weird and alarming that they're catching 3 against the Falcons. That there's not much to like about the Falcons. They don't play. Grady Jarrett's out for the year. They don't play great defense. Jets obviously don't play great offense, but they might run the ball 60 times and win. This is more of a play on the Jets defense at home. Potentially got a little infused hype with Rodgers potentially coming back. Obviously you can't really cap for that, but this is more of a fade the Falcons with an ugly team. Nobody's going to back the Jets. The only thing the Jets know is defense. I think they might score a defensive touchdown. Brees Hall, I don't know his individual totals, but I would probably take the over on just about everything. I think they're going to play bully ball. Like I said, I'm not a huge believer in the Falcons to begin with, let alone being a road dog or a road favorite of 3.
Public, any betting interest in this game at all, or staying away from some ugly football?
No real interest in this game other than on an individual basis for the mustard man, Bijan. This kind of game makes me sick. Like, the Falcons are going to Falcon, and the Jets, you do have to score 3 points to win, right? Or at least 2. You can't score 1 in the NFL. So how do they win?
Yeah, I feel that.
No.
The Jets,
Dennis Miller is starting against them. So
there we go. There it is. He's good for a touchdown for the Jets.
Yeah, for the Jets.
All right. I can understand it from that perspective then. We'll go with Ritter 7-3 against himself.
Fair enough. We'll move on to some more ugly football from what I can see. Next on the board is Browns +3.5. They're at the Rams. Never a home game in LA.
What can I say? I'm a glutton for punishment. Love ugly games. Honestly, the Jets and Browns are probably my 2 of the 3 best bets of the weekend. They're going to bully the Rams. I'm not a big believer. I don't believe the Rams are the team that just nearly hung 40 against the Cardinals. Flacco behind center at least isn't as terrible as PJ Walker. But at the end of the day, this is catching a good number.
Are we really going to see a Flacco on the field?
Yeah, I think he's starting. He took all the first team reps. So,
Flacco off the fucking street.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
yeah, so there's probably a good chance of a play action, stretch the field, deep ball. But this is more of the war in the trenches. The Rams are playing better and they are decent, but that Browns defense is a game wrecker. You give me a hook with the Browns running game and a veteran quarterback, Flacco really doesn't need to do anything. I still think they would cover the number. I actually have them and the Jets both to win outright, but this is the same thing. I'm following the defense. I'm following a key number, and we'll figure out the quarterback. Maybe
Might just ride just because it's Flacco.
running game.
Betting public. Also, live update Thursday night game. Cowboys just scored with an extra point. So they're up 3 now. And about 4 minutes left. We'll see if they can score again and possibly get backdoor cover. Pick 6 action, maybe.
So
Right.
they
went
go
for
for
two?
2? They went for 2?
They went for 2 and they got it.
All right.
Mike McCarthy. That's what I'm fucking talking about, dog. Looking to help out your teaser pals. You know you're not gonna cover the line, but you hit the tease. That's what I'm talking about, Mike.
Get everybody happy. I
So-
can get down with that.
Go play some fucking defense one goddamn time.
Public, you going to throw anything on old Joe Flacco?
Look, I mean, honestly, Flacco off the fucking street, like that just seems wild to me to back. This seems like a similar trend to the one you were talking about with the Falcons, although slightly different because the Rams are at home. But the Rams were just wildly successful in their past game, granted against the Cardinals, who are awful. And the Browns D is certainly nothing to be trifled with. My concern here is that it is Flacco off the street, so you're likely going to see some loaded boxes. But then again, maybe that'll lead to some deep balls to Amari Cooper and enough big plays for them to cover and maybe pull this out. I don't know if I'm going to be able to follow on this one, but fuck it. Why not? I sure as hell don't trust Matt Stafford getting his ass beat in by Myles Garrett all day. So
Never better reason to follow than fuck it, why not?
Yeah, to that, I mean, this Browns defense, obviously they're Cleveland. Nobody cares. Nobody follows them. They are very legit. I know the Broncos, which we'll kind of segue into, kind of embarrassed them briefly, but that was a little more ineptitude on offense. But they are going to get after Mr. Stafford. And like I said, this is playing the hook with a good defense and a good running game. The rest of it, let's figure it out. Who needs a quarterback?
obviously not the Browns. They're 7-4 and they haven't had one all year.
Moving on to a game with some quarterback play. Game both of you are on. The Broncos, who are visiting Houston and CJ Stroud, they're getting 3.5.
Yeah. Just to add to the Falcons Jets bet again. The Falcons are the 4th least profitable betting team. So they don't cover numbers, let alone on the road. But getting into the Donkeys versus Texans, I don't know what Sean Payton's got cooking up there. Drinking that Colorado Kool-Aid, I guess. But I think they won 6 straight. They're playing really well. Russell Wilson, sneaky, is back to young Russ in Seattle. They're playing really well in the trenches. Their defense finally is catching um, catching on. Obviously, everybody's going to remember them put up 70, but since they put up 70, I don't know. I don't believe they've allowed more than 20 in any of their games. I have to verify that, but needless to say, things are cooking. They're playing well. CJ Stroud, the Houston Texans, they're the media darlings. They're well deserved. I mean, they're playing really well. CJ Stroud looks like the real deal. Again, this is a hot team going into a team that might struggle against the run, might be able to ball control them. Sean Payton plays bully ball, both sides. They're starting to build a culture there. Again, this is catching the hook. It wouldn't shock me if Houston actually wins and stops the winning streak, but it also wouldn't shock me one bit if the Broncos win there and actually won outright and then took the playoff position from them. So this is a sneaky game. Looks ugly, sounds ugly, but it's for a playoff position. So I don't know. The Broncos got something cooking. I'm going with them.
All of a sudden, Sean Payton's got another one of those bounty gate defenses working for him.
Oh, that's cold blooded. But just to echo what he said here, because as you pointed out, we're both on this game. The Broncos, you look at their schedule, the teams that they've faced, quality fucking teams that they've been beating, quality defenses, and their defense has been holding up against some offenses that people think are a threat. Houston, counter, has actually not been facing very quality quarterbacks and offenses, and they've still been giving up points. They've been winning some games because they score some points as well. But in terms of strength of schedule, Denver has faced much tougher opponents and has been doing quite well lately. They did get their safety back who wasn't playing at the beginning of the year, and they've been playing a lot better on defense. So I see Denver continuing to play well here and keeping it close. I also think that Sean Payton, being the veteran coach that he is, can maybe cause some confusion enough for CJ Stroud to get a couple turnovers here, especially, that defense playing a little better. I like the Broncos here, even though we're riding with Russell Wilson. So, Bronco country, let's ride.
Let's ride. So since week 8, they gave up 9 points to the Kansas City Chiefs. Screen here. The following week they had a bye. So week 9 they had a bye. Week 10 they gave up 22 to the Bills in a win. So I guess they did give up 22. But what I'm getting at is they scored 24, they scored 24, they scored 25 against the Browns last week. Against the Vikings, they put up 21. So they are scoring and they're keeping teams lower. Houston does allow some points. Like I said, the hook is something I don't think is going to be there Sunday. That's what I'll get at. I think it's going to come down.
Speaking of teams that are scoring, Dallas about to score. They got the ball back with about 4 minutes, like I said, and they are on about the 20-yard line. They stop the Sea Chickens marching in for the score. It could happen for all of us.
Oh, that back door for fucking Westover and sliding right into my lap there for McCarthy. How many fucking timeouts do the Sea Chickens have, though? They're just going to fucking kneel on it eventually.
Let's go. They have all their timeouts, but the Cowboys
Okay.
at this point It's not even. It's the 2-minute warning now, maybe, but
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they'll run 3 plays. If they get another first down, though, it's over.
cross your finger.
So-
Dowdle puts it in the end zone.
Yeah, I don't know.
Holland.
McCarthy and Dick Dak, they might play some fuckaroo there, but one can hope for a
Let's go point.
let's go first down and kneel out, or I can take a field goal. I'm good with that.
I'm with you to kneel it out. I don't give a fuck. I ended up backing off the 9.5, other than a little free play bet that I had. So I'm much more happy to take the teaser. So enjoy your plus 9.5 if you get it.
Moving on to the next pick on the sheet or the board. Juicy one. And you guys are split on pick. It's Miami. They're minus 9.5. The betting public likes that. Zesty, you like the over, but you like the Titans.
Those are
Am I
different
right?
games. No, Miami's playing the Commandos.
Those were just added to the sheet without trying to cross over into the public's
Oh, that's why I have it written weird. Okay. But so the other thing about this game is we have a plethora of props that you added in there. We have the Tyreek Hill over 97.5 receiving yards, Tua over 280 passing yards, and over 9.5 points in the first quarter again, just like tonight with Dallas. So you're thinking Miami comes out hot, sounds like.
Yeah. So to the listening public there, we had Dallas over 9.5 this first quarter. So Dallas and Washington play the highest, at least top 5 of the highest scoring first quarters. I think both of them were something like 9-3 to the over. It's pretty substantially over. Obviously, I'm on the game total over, just like I was tonight with Dallas. They covered in the third quarter. Not to point that out or anything, but Ron is calling the defense, but it's been a long time since he's called the defense. So you can have a great scheme, but if you don't have the dudes, it doesn't matter. The way Miami rushes the ball is actually going to cause pressure on the edge against Washington. Washington's always thought of, hey, they got the big guys up front, which is true. But you start getting them running laterally, they do a good job with their zone schemes, but they also throw off of that. Well, Washington is the worst defense in the league. Yards, points, just about every statistical metric there is, they're damn near towards the bottom. I think this game will play a little close and then eventually get pulled over or pull away. The one thing they've done historically, they don't cover number one receivers with a damn. They'll throw 3 guys at them and still don't cover them. Tyreek is going to go over 100 yards. I would have him as an anytime touchdown. I'd also have Tua over 1.5 touchdowns, but I don't think the value is there to bet it. But I think that's a bet worth having. So then on the other side, Miami's defense is kind of clicking, but they're not great. I just don't think Howell's going to have 26 completions. I think he's either going to have pressure in his face or the game scheme is going to get away from him. So it's not a full hedge if the game script doesn't play out like I think with all these overs. Ron should have been fired on Thanksgiving, and they gave him an honorable hangout and figure it out show people that you can coach a defense and maybe get another job because he's out. But Miami's going to have a day. So everybody but Mostert will probably score just because I have him. So it's going to be a ugly game. Luckily, I get to travel and listen to it on the radio, so I don't have to gouge my eyes out. So
You also threw in the Hal under 25.5 completions on there for the props. So no faith that the Commandos are going to really keep this close or have Miami in any danger.
yeah, I just think the game script gets out of whack. If that one hits, that means the rest of them probably hit. So it's playing a little double-sided, I guess. And somehow I'll probably middle myself out of all the bets. That's my thought process.
So fade it if you want. Public, what's your thoughts on this?
No, I like what you're saying there. I took Miami laying the points because I think this is similar to Miami's matchup last week, and there's just not going to be an ability for Washington to keep up here. I see Washington struggling a little bit to score. I think Miami's defense is playing a little bit better lately. I could see how the Hal completions mark would also hit under. That's a good hedge for me if you like the point total. But Miami might get to 30-35 on their own. So not a whole lot that the Foreskins have to do there to push the total over 49.5. So I'll lay the 9.5 with the Dolphins, knowing that they're going to continue to put pressure on the Commando defense. And I'm with you. Ron's getting to live another's life, even though he had to go tell his boy to have a seat for a while. So he probably just told Del Rio, just chill at the cabin. I'll be fucking there in a couple months. So
It's true. I can hear the conversation now. I'm going to throw out a wild prediction here watching the Thursday night game. There's a minute 43 left. Sea Chickens are about to take the field. I think Gino's going to throw another pick six to homeboy to further cement his record-breaking season and give Dallas a few more points to end this game.
He might throw a pick. It ain't no pick six. Bland has been exposed for, which I don't want to throw shade because I do think he's definitely earned himself some money. He's been
a risk taker.
Yeah, he's been a beneficiary. So is Diggs. They both have been beneficiaries of leads. That's why if you run the ball right at Dallas, this is why I don't think they'll. It pains me how much I travel. I have to listen to Dallas Super Bowl and MVP and all this. They live in their own reality, which is fine. They're polarizing. I mean, it is what it is, but they're frauds. They might win a playoff game, but this game is indicative of it. This defense was supposed to be vaunted. They've won 7 straight games by 21 points or 20 points. They played nothing but fucking dog shit teams. Geno Smith with a bum elbow coming in here slinging dimes. Is Parson out? I haven't seen him at all. I mean, I know he had one pressure, but they're too high on their head. I can't wait to fade them. But I actually might be in 2 weeks that I fade them. He ain't throwing no pick six.
We will follow that development, of course. We'll move down the line. We covered that Miami Commanders game. The next one on the board is Eagles +3, and that'll wrap up your top 5 picks for the week, Zesty, in the NFL.
Yeah, I'll touch on Tennessee, and then Public and I can go back and forth on the Niners.
That's right. You had the Titans on there too. That's where I had gotten mixed up.
Sounds good.
So yeah, Indianapolis, they're playoff team. Gardner Minshew, they're running around. Zach Moss, He's well. He has played well. I say Zach Moss because Jonathan Taylor's out with a thumb injury. Tennessee doesn't lose at home. They don't win on the road, but they don't lose at home. Divisional game, they played very well. I still believe in Vrabel. There's a lot to be desired in Tennessee, but I just think it's one of those spots that I don't know if the Colts are suited to win a game that they should, playoff seeding wise, win. So keep it real short. I don't have any special notes other than you still got to tackle Derrick Henry. You still got to defend the deep shot. And Tennessee does play defense when the script plays out that way. I don't think the Colts are going to blow them out. So I think it's going to be close. It's going to be ugly. Tell somebody beats them at home, they win at home. So that's my thought. And then into the Eagles Niners game.
Eagles Niners. You like the Eagles. Betting public likes the Niners. Have at it.
Well, yeah, we have two very different numbers. I like the Eagles +3. It took me almost all week to decide if I actually wanted to bet this game. More on the side of how much public influence is there. I do think the Eagles at 10-1 do have flaws. The Niners on the road. So what Vegas is telling us, or assuming that they would be almost a 6-point favorite at home, I don't believe that. I think it's a fluffed line. I know a lot of sharp people, allegedly sharp people, like the Niners under 3. More specifically 1.5, not the middle 2.5 that the public has. This is I would not bet it other than the 3. Meaning that at home, even if they do come out sluggish, I'm half tempted to put a first half bet on the Niners. The Eagles come out sluggish, play better in the second half. So if I haven't decided what side I'm going to play, I might sit and watch. But they are a different team in the second half. They have been susceptible to passing yards or passing offenses in general. The other thing is, one of the better bets on this, and I didn't list it, but I'll talk about it, is, and how about them Seahawks get a cover? But the Niners' first quarter might have a lot of value. They are damn near the best team with the script. So when they get the ball, they usually put it in the end zone. They usually have a lead. If they don't have a lead, Shanahan's 0-37, trailing in the fourth quarter. So
Is that a real stat?
Yes, sir.
Holy shit.
They only play one way. With a lead, hold the lead. So with the Eagles in the second half, I hate to I'm a bettor. I don't necessarily have an allegiance to a team. I hate betting certain teams, but the Eagles are a second half team, so they're either going to put the gas down and the Niners are not going to recover, or now it turns into strength versus strength with the Eagles coming from behind. But yeah, never say never. But if the Niners trail, there's a pretty good history that they don't come out of it, especially when you got beer cans getting thrown at you. So
that's why that scripted drive is so important. So I'm with you there. Just throw some cash on that first quarter Niners bet. Count on run CMC, smacking them in the mouth real quick, getting up, getting ahead, and then Philly chopping back at him later on. But betting public, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, Philly's been in a lot of close games lately. I just see this as a little bit of a fall off for them. They've been winning a lot of close games. 49ers come in. They're a really good team. I think that they do jump out ahead, get an early lead, and the 49ers are built for that at this point with their defense. Philly, I think, struggles a little bit more here because of the revenge factor as well. I see the 49ers coming into Philly trying to prove something from last year where they got beat in the playoffs, and want to make a point that when they see them again in the near future, that there's going to be some more hell to pay. So I see this as a good spot to take the 49ers if you were like me and you could get them early in the week at 2.5. At 3 is kind of a wash, and that's why I don't necessarily disagree with the approach that you take it. Hey, if I can get it at +3, or maybe if I can even get a hook somehow later in the week on Sunday, take that 3.5, because I do think it'll end up being a close game. But it's really all about where you can get the line. So for me, I think San Francisco ends up winning the game, and that's why I'm willing to lay the 2.5. But a 3 is, that's kind of pushing it, because I feel like the score ends up being about a 3-point difference. So that's my view.
yeah, going into the game, I kind of like the over. I don't have it in front of me, but as I'm processing the games I'm trying to win Sunday going into the next week, I'm kind of thinking in the game, honestly, probably means more to the Niners. The Niners probably feel they were shortchanged. This is their opportunity to show, hey, if we have a quarterback not named Josh Johnson or Christian McCaffrey, we could potentially match up. But the teams are a little different. The Eagles' defense this year is not as good as they were last year. But when you start chirping at them, they're going to be a little motivated. We've got quite a bit of celebrities planning to be in attendance for my boy, Deshaun Jackson. He claims the Eagles, but he was a Redskin for quite a minute. He went and got some money. He retired. They're going to do a ceremony. There's going to be a little engineered hype. That's fine for me, you, the public, everybody thinking, oh, yeah, they're going to be motivated. But they didn't make this. Fuck, they could play this in the schoolyard. Probably be just as motivated. It's going to come down to whoever loses is going to say, okay, we're not quite ready for the Super Bowl. The winner of this game is going to probably feel very good about their chances to win the Super Bowl, because more than likely they're going to go head-to-head again. It's matchup 1. They're going to meet up again. How they scheme up for the second matchup, I don't think they're going to hide anything or keep anything close to the vest. I think they're going to – the Niners want to win this game, need to win this game for home field. Maybe that's some of the driving force of the Sharps. But in reality, the Eagles aren't quite like the Vikings last year where they were 11-0 in one-score games.
Right. Yeah.
But they're damn close. Like, so I get the Niners side of things. Because they are, I don't want to call them weak. I hope Lane Johnson plays. I hope everybody's, at their fullest. But if Lane Johnson doesn't play, that's a big excuse, I guess, or whatever you want to say.
Especially against that D line.
Yeah. But honestly, they've underperformed in the trenches considering how much they've expended into the trenches. They are an offensive juggernaut, but they also look sluggish and poor at times too. So I think the Niners are more consistent. I know they went on a 3-game losing streak, but they were out quite a few of their stars, which I guess Debo means more to the team than I expected, but this is going way back. I just think to bet this game, you've got to get the key number. So if you want the Niners, make sure you're on the right side of the number. If you want the Eagles, make sure you're 3 or better. And we'll see how the in-play goes out or comes into it, but there's really no secret how each one of these teams want to play. They want to run the ball with explosive plays and rush the passer. It's just who does it better and who has the game script to do it. Like Jalen Hurts is going to look pretty pedestrian if he's down 14 because they're going to release the hounds. Same thing with Purdy. If he's got a lead or a good running game, he's going to look really good. So it's going to be very crucial, like you had pointed out, the first quarter, the first drive, first possession. How are you able to dictate the rebuttal or the aftermath of the game? And then it might be a free-for-all after that coming into the second half. But it's going to be a game of adjustments, honestly, possession to possession, truthfully.
And you lean towards the over. You like you said, there's no reason to go vanilla here. They're going to throw everything they have at it. The Niners really need this for home field. Like you said, it's going to be blow for blow.
Yeah, home field is probably a long shot, but this is a game they need to position themselves to potentially get home field. The Eagles, not looking at the schedule, but I'm pretty sure they end with the Giants twice. I think the Panthers are in there and some other. They have a really easy final skip. They've got the Cowboys next week, Giants twice, and a couple other. Like they could go 14-2, assuming they lose to the Cowboys. They could go, yeah. So home field is probably going through Philly, but this is probably a little more personal. Every NFL game's kind of personal, but this one's public. We all want to hype it, so why not talk about it?
Yeah, and then just to add some additional stats here to the San Francisco case, another bet that I was looking at is the first half over. San Francisco, because they are going to need to get out to an early lead, they have been very successful at that in their over the course of the season. In the first 6 drives of the game, they rank number 1 in points per drive, number 1 in touchdowns per drive, number 1 in scores per drive, number 1 in red zone trips per drive, and number 1 in yards per drive. So they're going to come out looking to attack early. And if they're able to be that efficient and get that lead up, I think that's where they find success. If Philly is able to come up and have some defensive stops early in the game, that changes things. But they haven't really been doing that. They've been trailing at halftime in more than half of their games this year. So we shall see who eats the cheesesteak.
Yeah, the Commanders matched up well. But hell, they took them to the graveyard without dying, essentially. I think they put up 30 plus. So the Eagles defense can be, in theory, very good. They have not been very good at all. I cannot stress it enough. The bet is the number. If you can get under 3, the Niners are probably side.
Yeah.
Because it will probably get to this, oh hey, and then honestly the best play to play this, or the best way to play this, is if you have the opportunity to in-play it, because I do think it's probably going to come down to a field goal. I'm hoping it's a win from my side, but it's probably pointing to a push because of what you said, the script. I mean, we saw this, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago with Jacksonville. Obviously, they're two different teams, and the Niners were at home. The Niners snuffed out Jacksonville. And Jacksonville was a very good road team. Like, that's a very quality win. Outside of the Chiefs, trying to think on the fly here, the Eagles don't have a whole hell of a lot of wow wins. I do think they are good. I'd bite my tongue to crown them because they have shown weakness. Last week, we thought Buffalo was done for, and it took overtime, 60-yard field goal or 59-yard field goal in the rain to get to overtime. They win, they get all hyped up. Just like I can't wait to hear how Dallas is a Super Bowl champion for winning by 6 after getting their doors beat off, giving up 35. It's so the media kind of pushes the media, whatever. I get it. Ratings. If you actually look at Philly, I have a lot of concerns. I know I'm backing the number at home. Don't know if Goddard's playing. Tight end's not going to move the number one way or the other, but Goddard and Lane Johnson are valuable to the team. But Philly does run the ball very well. The Niners have struggled against the run a little bit against like the Bengals. Some of their losses makes you scratch your head because it wasn't that side of the field that was struggling. So, like I said, play on the number. This is an in-play game. I do like the under or the over. Love the first quarter.
That over 47.5, by the way.
Yeah, I love the first quarter Niners, by the way. I don't even know what it is, but I'll blindly bet it. They're going to have a lead in the first quarter. Whether or not they cover, which would be, I'm assuming, leading. I'm assuming it's -1. But they're going to have a lead in the first quarter. So
All right, moving on from this Eagles-Niners game. And, well, before we move on to the next pick on the boards, we'll wrap up the Thursday night game. Dallas won. They did not cover the 9.5. Seattle got the cover. But as far as our betting goes, Zesty got the over. Your Dallas first quarter pushed, I believe, right? And your over 9.5 in the first quarter hit. So not a bad night.
3-0-1. Not a bad start at all.
Mm-hmm. So good start to the week.
Yeah, I kept that game pretty well.
Pretty damn well.
Not
I would
gonna,
say.
And next pick on your sheet, betting public, is the Lions -4, and they're playing the Saints. Are they in New Orleans? Remind me.
In New Orleans, yeah. So the thinking here is Detroit, I think, is actually a good team. They've had some turnover problems lately, and the defense has looked a little sketchy at times. But my boy, Man Campbell, as Dan Levitard used to call him, is going to do some things right to ship there. And the Saints suck in the red zone. They cannot score touchdowns. So I just think that this is a bounce back game for Detroit. They just got their asses handed to them on Thanksgiving, feeling fucking embarrassed as they should be. And it's time to go down to the Big Easy and get a big sleazy W. So let's go Goff. Get some nice, beneficial rest and relaxation over the extended break that you had from the Thanksgiving game. Kind of like a half a bye, if you will. And hopefully he spent a lot of time with his hot-ass girlfriend, feeling refreshed going into this game. Not going to throw the ball to the Saints. And the Saints, also, you got to watch for some injuries. If Olave is not able to play, coming out of the concussion protocol, that hurts them as well in an offense that's already struggling. So I see the Lions running away with this one. Not a problem for me laying the 4.
Yeah, I don't mind this pick just because at this point the Saints seem so one-dimensional, and the Lions really do stop the run first well, but they get after the pass. Like, they're gonna have Carr on his ass constantly. Zesty, what's your thoughts?
yeah, I've got should have taken better notes, I guess. But so Detroit's 4-1 on the road against the spread.
Yep, 4-1 overall against the spread, or overall too. So if they cover when they win,
Yeah, no, they're a good team. It's either 6 or 7 fumbles last 2 weeks, something like that.
yeah, just
Looks
unlucky.
ugly.
That's relatively easy to fix. Coming out of college, obviously, we're not doing a scouting report here, but small hands, we're concerned. Some of them are fluky. Some of them were Hayward Lions. We're going to score. Some of it is Green Bay is not terrible. I forget who the hell else they played. I was on Green Bay last week. They've played, or at least Green Bay was a quality opponent. Won't speak into
Green Bay is getting 6 points at the Chiefs. So
yeah. You guys looking up who they played the last 2 weeks?
who?
Oh no, it was the Bears. So the Bears,
the Bears.
the Bears defense is actually played pretty well too.
Looking decent, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't hate the pick more because I don't believe in the Saints, even at the Thunderdome or whatever the hell they're calling themselves.
Superdome.
Yeah, the
Something like that.
something you can't really cap or think of. Dan Campbell started New Orleans as a coach. I think he was even an interim head coach for a minute when Sean Payton, Bountygate, was suspended.
Man, Campbell.
This means something to him. I promise you, if it means it to him, it's going to mean it to his guys. I don't love the number. I would flirt with a teaser with some other teams. But yeah, I think they cover the number. I have zero faith in Derek Carr. And that was designed.
We've all established that.
That
Great
that
guy,
was yeah,
but not a great quarterback. Not anymore.
yeah. That stutter was designed. God, they might be better off with Taysom Hill taking snaps or Quentin Winston.
Not Jameis.
He's a likable guy, man. I like Jameis. Like he's did you guys
James
did you
pretty
guys
fucking
see?
cool.
Yeah, did you see him rapping Ludacris in his face, saying "Get out the
Yeah.
way, bitch! Get out the way"?
Yeah. Jameis is the fucking man. He throws
I
it to the other team way too goddamn much, but he's the
Yeah.
fucking man.
I know
Yeah, I love
Dan.
Jameis,
Yeah,
but
I know.
he throws a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, well, he didn't really have a good. Yeah. Anyway, the funniest part of it all is I know damn well that was to motivate. Well, I guess I don't know damn well, but pretty sure it was to motivate Derek Carr. But because he's the backup quarterback, he's like, get out the way, bitch, because he fucking sucked. I
Right.
think he's perfectly fine cashing checks as a backup, living the New Orleans lifestyle, but that's not what we're here for. Lions are going to run the ball. The Saints defense is eye test worthy at home, better, but they've kind of struggled lately. They're giving up the last. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go behind here. I think they've struggled quite a bit recently.
The
Not
Lions?
no, the Saints, but just to go back to the Commanders, just because I pulled it up. You know,
No,
they're only averaging giving up 32 points a game, so you know.
Jesus Christ.
Oh,
Well,
well,
speaking of the average of 32 points a game given up, the last pick on your sheet, Public, is the Pats Chargers under at 40.5. It's already moved to 41.
no, it's at 40.5 now, depending on where you look. Started out at 41.
Oh, okay. Where'd you
But
get
yeah,
it? 41?
41, and this is fade the Chargers time. Anytime they've played a top 10 defense, they're averaging about 17 points a game. Patriots, despite the fact that they're 2-9, are actually a top 10 defense statistically. They're at home. I see them holding the Chargers to a fairly low number, and the Patriots don't score many points either. So, to me, this is nobody's getting above 20 in the cold ass weather out there in Foxborough this weekend. So, under 41 it is.
Yeah. Belichick has really, really perfected how to limit possessions this season. Zesty, your thoughts on this one?
It's in Foxborough, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just to finish out my agreement on the Lions. This is a stat that might shock you. The vaunted defense of the Saints. They're giving up almost 23 points a game at home.
At home?
At home. You would think the defense would be better, but that shocked me. I didn't know it before
But it's
looking it up. That being said, also,
Yeah, that's a little wild.
the Patriots at home are giving up almost 27 points a game. So I don't disagree. That's just road game. Let's just see. The Chargers are very
shitty.
No, it plays. They are, with the amount of talent they have, they are very shitty. But yeah, it's gonna play to the means. They're 1-4 to the under. They average 23. The Patriots give up 25. The Patriots aren't gonna split the difference. I don't hate the bet. I don't think it's great, but I don't hate it.
You're not taking the over.
Yeah, both of these teams I try to avoid, honestly, which isn't true because I bet probably both of them every week. But I
try to avoid them.
Yeah, the Chargers, God, they just must hate Staley, or Staley's just that terrible. But at some point, you got to look in the mirror and be like, oh, maybe we are shitty. Like, the Joey Bosa thing, I'm not concerned with the Patriots. The defense is probably going to play relatively decent. The Patriots, it's the NFL. They're all playing for a job, so I wouldn't say they quit, but maybe they're not buying into Belichick's run gassers or whatever fucking bullshit he does at practice, a la anyway, I forgot the movie. I saw it on the what was the football movie where oh shit. I used to think it was a good football movie and it's just fucking dog shit. But anyway,
I'm trying to guess it just off of those facts. Hold on.
The coach
remember
quits.
the Titans.
No, the coach quits.
Any given Sunday.
No.
Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues. That's it.
Hell yeah.
Varsity Blues. And I was like, man, I used to think this is a good movie, and I watched it again, and I was like, God, this is terrible. Like every bit of it is terrible, but
throwback
had some
There's
comedy.
one good scene.
Yeah.
There's one good scene.
They've given up on Belichick's Varsity Blues bullshit. They're not gonna quit, but they're not.
Belichick is Varsity Blues.
Oh shit!
I love
it. Honestly, I don't hate it. I wouldn't bet it because oh hell, who knows? Malik Cunningham might have a day, or whoever the fucking quarterback.
I agree with that sentiment. Just some no name we've never heard of having 4 touchdowns because why? Because the Chargers suck.
Yeah. Mac Jones, as of Tuesday, hasn't been seen. He's not taking snaps, so he ain't starting.
Zap man. Time for the Zap man.
So I don't know. They're
That's why I'm
I
saying
think it's a
nobody's
very
gonna
safe
fucking
under.
score.
Very safe under, but we'll see.
Just like
Before
betting
we move
on the
on,
Steelers against themselves.
I was gonna say, is that on the sheet now?
What's that?
Steelers against themselves.
No, I was just fucking taking shots at you. Of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Honest-
before we move on, let's talk about a couple of. They're not on the board, but the Steelers are 5.5. They need to cover 5.5, and also the Buccaneers need to cover 5.5. They've got Carolina. I just think Tampa Bay's still in. With the Saints loss, they could take the lead in their division. So they need this game a whole lot more than Carolina, who's a shitty team. Baker's going to be playing to get a playoff berth. They're hyper focused, regardless of how average their team has been to date. They're trying to get better and better every week. And the Steelers, I mean, no love for them on the sheet this week. I was shocked. I know I'm a homer, but you said it earlier in the podcast. The Cardinals are dog shit. So tell me why the Steelers can't cover 5.5 at home.
I mean, they probably can. Kyler Murray's got one of his weapons who literally just fucking quit the team. So
Yeah, I saw that.
Steelers 2-9 to the under. Obviously, we saw the offensive explosion. What was it? 58 games under 400 yards.
oh, that's fucking impressively shitty.
Yeah. How many points did they put up?
16.
Yeah.
Barn burner. Barn
Yeah.
burner.
Barn burner. A lot of yards, a lot of empty calories. They're eating donuts out there. They are the worst team. Obviously, we kind of knew this.
What better team to figure out your end zone and your red zone?
I was this
against the
yeah.
Cardinals.
I was this close to adding it to the sheets, the 41.5. Points for versus points allowed. They are 16.5 points. They are allowing 18.5 points. So they are a generic 2.5 point dog. Anytime they go in,
that's just what they should be.
Yeah, they win games. So now we go into the 5.5 total. So you're telling me with your resume, I know it's the show me league here, but you're gonna go, or Arizona's gonna come to you, right? It's in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Yes.
Historically, through the season, you're a 2-point dog, regardless if you're favored or not. This has Green Bay vibes all over it. They were, I think, 2-point favorite against Green Bay, or they might have been a 2-point dog or whatever, but a lot of people jumped on it. Takes some
I can't argue with that.
Some degenerate gambler to play it, but like the numbers say, the Cardinals are the bet. Whether or not the Cardinals actually show up, Kyler Murray has a lot of things to play for, but everybody else also has a lot of things to play for because it's a show me league. So the idea that a garbage team is just going to phone it in like college, it's a little different because you're on a contract. A lot of these guys might be on a 1-year deal. So they're like, hey, I just beat the piss out of Kenny Pickett or however it may be.
Well,
Well, to that, I guess, is Kyler Murray is guaranteed a lot of money. So I guess, does Kyler Murray want to play this game? Because he's getting paid regardless. So if he shows up,
But here's why he doesn't. TJ Watt, possibly the best defensive player on the planet. And he has no reason not to flatten Kyler Murray on his ass a few times this week because the Cardinals can't protect him at all. And I've seen that a few times this year because I have to watch the Cardinals all the time being in Utah.
no, I agree. I'm just saying the numbers shit. I wouldn't play.
Five and a half
I
sucks.
I wouldn't play the number.
Number sucks.
I think the world of Tomlin. I think he's a great coach. The
That's
number, yeah. The
If he was
number,
a great coach, they would not have the position they're in right now.
yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like the number being shitty and the Cardinals being shitty, the Steelers could end up winning like 16-13, and the game actually won't even feel that close. Like it'll feel like the Steelers kind of kick their ass most of the game, and then the Cardinals will just get a late score or something and fuck you. So that to me is the more likely outcome. And that's why I fear the 5.5. But I think the Steelers win.
100%. So the reason 5.5 is shitty, you don't believe the Steelers are going to win by more than 3, give or take. You can't back the dog because it's not 7. It's literally almost the shittiest number available. And everybody's like, oh, what are you talking about when you take a 3.5? Like the public mentioned, the game script, it's going to end up fucking you. It might be a 6-point victory.
Yeah.
Or they might win by a missed extra point. So, like, that's why it was not on my radar at all. Like, it was a.
That's where if I bet it, it'll be Pittsburgh by 14. For more value. But that's my play. All right.
No, and that's honestly the way to play it. Like, if I haven't done it personally, but if you get shitty lines,
Numbers. Yeah.
and then you can alt it to 6.5 for plus money, you're better off doing that than taking the 5, because if the 5.5 covers, more than likely the 6.5 is going to cover, or and then everybody talks about the key numbers 7, 3. They're changing a little bit with the field goals. They haven't quite got to that point yet. Well, they have, but yes, I would agree. At 5.5, alt it at least the 6.5. Maybe get you some plus returns on at least at that point, you're at least getting plus returns on a shitty number, versus which at that point, then depending on how many legs you had or whatever, you could potentially tease it down and get money line at plus value or even numbers, or however you played with the teasers. So that's kind of how you got to attack some of these shitty games. Obviously, Vegas gamblers are not in it to lose money. They're not in it to give you freebies. I hate 5.5. Anytime I see 5.5, I don't even fucking touch it. It's money line, or like you said, alt bet.
Word. Well, folks, we've wrapped up the NFL Week 13, which means we're on to the lightning round, college football. And I know we've got at least 5, if not 6, some bonus games thrown in there, I'm sure. Maybe some props. I know we've got a handful of props on there. So start us off with New Mexico State tomorrow night, getting 11 points at Liberty. Tell me why you're even watching.
Mexico State's buzzsaw.
Buzzsaw.
Yeah. Have at it, Aggies. They beat Auburn. Since they beat Auburn, they have just not beating Auburn is great. But at New Mexico State, you beat Auburn. These guys got some pep in their step. They've Liberty's good, 11.5. I don't have any statistics on either one of them. I just know
New Mexico State
New
loves
Me-
that
New-
number.
Yeah, New Mexico State's been playing very well. I believe the numbers actually climbed, but I mean that's Liberty's undefeated. But
Yeah, they're 12-0, but you
yeah,
got to figure if you can beat an SEC school, you're not sweating a Liberty.
yeah, I don't even know where Liberty's out of. I mean, I do think, but
I mean, they're not Colorado School of Mines, but you know.
exactly. Yeah,
I like this a lot, and that's because of the transitive properties of football and the New Mexico State Aggies thinking that by virtue of them beating Alabama or Auburn, who almost beat Alabama, that New Mexico State could beat Alabama, which means that they could be in the SEC championship game, not the Conference USA championship game. So they're going in, a lot of confidence, riding high, 11 points, too much.
I like it just because I can throw it on a parlay with. Oh, were you going to say something more about this game?
yeah. To that, and we'll touch on it even more. But as a public mention, I need to take. I got notes up here. I need to write them down so I can actually spin them. Conference championship weekends, double digits don't do very well. Don't take that into your Iowa bet because Michigan's gonna fucking beat the piss out of them. But Oklahoma's
ye be warned.
yeah, we'll get into it, but Oklahoma State might be
Okay, easy. You're going off sheet now.
I know.
But
Double digit favorites don't typically do very well in championship week. I'll leave it at that. That's some of my New Mexico State.
right. That's the reasoning behind it.
Well, no, they've been playing very well, but honestly, I haven't seen either one of these games, and I watch a lot of football, so I'm not going to pretend like they're getting crazy. But if I recall, they beat Auburn pretty handily. Like it wasn't a
They
fluke.
whipped that ass.
Yeah,
You're right.
they beat that ass. So
they got to have somebody. All right,
Oh,
moving on. Were you going to say something about this game too? Sorry.
no, I was just going to say, let's get to the fucking good game on Friday.
Yeah, so that's why I love this game, just because I can add it on to another Friday game, which we all are going to be watching very closely. Washington, Oregon. Zesty, you put Washington plus 9.5. That's your pick. You're taking the points. I love that. I think it's fucking insane that it's that high. You also like the under 65.5. And you like the Washington team total over 27.5. So you got a few ways you got this game scripted out in your head.
yeah. So depending on which book you look at, it's at 10 now. Which is crazy. So I think Oregon is probably the second best team in the nation behind Michigan. The idea in a championship rivalry game, they're catching 10. And I don't know where the bets lie necessarily. Maybe I'll have egg on my face, but my assumption is everybody just saw what Oregon did, everybody saw what Washington did. Washington's had a couple ugly performances. Washington is good on both sides of the ball. They're not that different from Oregon. They are metric wise as far as blowing out teams, I guess. 10 is crazy. Everybody just assumes Oregon's going to win, and I do believe Oregon is going to win. This is a rivalry game. This is just like going Michigan, Ohio State, saying, oh, Ohio State or Michigan this year, I guess, -10 in a neutral field. Absurd. Nobody in the world. I mean, people were backing Ohio State 3.5. Like, it is a rivalry game. These guys hate each other. It's for a championship game. And it's even more important because the Pac-12 usually cannibalize themselves. This is the first time they're actually going to get themselves, in recent memory, into a championship bid. Give me a break. Fuck the 10.5. I hope it keeps climbing.
Me too.
I would
once I saw it moving, I'm like, I'm waiting for it to move more. This is insane.
Yeah, look, I do. I think Oregon is the real deal. You have a competent quarterback, a more than competent defense. They played a dud game against a rival on, I don't know if it was national TV or not, but, and they had a dud game against Arizona State. They're not a dud program. The coach has balls. I mean, that reverse call that he made on 4th and whatever what was it, 4th and 2 for 30 yards, that had balls. Like, these guys believe, they have confidence. They had a couple. They know what Oregon does. Oregon knows what they do. They're going to beef it up. The reason I took the team total over is because I think they're going to reach it. But I do think the game plays sub 60-ish, to why I took the 65.5 under, because Oregon's team total is like 38. Now, I think both of them can probably reach it. So all these things I've listed are potential bets. They haven't been necessarily laid other than this evening's games. I think it's going to get ugly. And ugly is
Ugly how?
ugly as far as you look at these two schools that score points, and they're like, oh, 65.5. 65 is still a lot of points, unless you're USC. But team total over 27.5 is where I'm kind of. I like the points. I like the team total more than I do the under, but all of them are kind of tied together. I haven't made a bet on any of them yet, but the thought process is Washington is not about to be embarrassed. And a 10-point line is saying, hey, we're about to embarrass you. I don't care about Bo Nix's Heisman. He's still got to prove it. Washington's defense is not that bad.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I follow the analysis there. My counterpoints would be in the game that they played earlier in the year, Oregon had 3 turnovers on downs or turnovers inside the 10-yard line when they lost by 3 up in Washington. I do think that they can turn that those kind of issues around. Maybe that leads to a little bit better opportunity for them in this game to dominate in that fashion. That being said, I don't trust it that much because I think that for many of the reasons you stated, Washington also comes to play here, and 10 is just a lot, especially in a game like this where you got 2 really, really good quarterbacks as well. And nobody's going to feel like they're out of this at any point during the game because the college game is it's different on offense. It's quicker, it's faster paced, and because they're able to have a little bit more spacing on the field, we always see these games run up into higher point totals than we see on Sunday. So the over kind of scares me a little bit because they did hit it in the first game, and people are always going to be pulling out tricks for Pac-12 title week. That being said, I do think both defenses have a lot of skilled players as well. So despite the fact that we got 2 Heisman candidates going at it here in the title game, I think they're going to do enough to get some stops here, like the under. Team total for Washington, I think that's a smart play on the script that you laid out. So we shall see tomorrow night. But I think that aside from the fact that the fucking Heisman voting is kind of chicken shit and they let people put their votes in already, so you probably got half of the SEC writers that already fucking threw the ticket in for Jaden Daniels. This game could be for the fucking Heisman because if Nix goes out and balls out, or if Penix goes out and balls out, they're going to have some really fucking good case because Daniels, yeah, dude, you're great, but your team didn't do shit. So I would much rather give it to Penix or Nix if they come out of this and go to the playoff. But, that's the way I see the vote.
Yeah, this one, I think it's about style points, which is why I don't love the under. I think both of these teams have potent offenses, and 65.5 isn't scary because Dallas and Seattle just hit it tonight. Like, it's just things shake out. It's a Pac-12 championship, like you said. Like I just think it'll get there pretty safely, honestly.
Yeah, so was Washington and Washington State. They were both very good offenses, and they were under by 20 points. Like I said, 65 is a lot of points.
Yeah, it is.
So to finalize this, the public had mentioned a lot of turnovers and downs. Those were created.
That's fair.
It's not like Oregon's like, hey, we're just going to give it to you. Like the idea that, hey, we're just going to go and this isn't going to happen. We're going to beat the brakes off of you. I agree. Oregon looks better. Oregon is better. Prove it. And I promise you this is a one-possession game. Or, which I'm backpedaling, I guess, it's a one-possession game or the brakes are beat off one side or the other. And the total then still hits the under. It's going to be a possession game. Everybody, I guess I don't want to be too definitive and look like an idiot, but it's going to be possession based. If the script plays out as it is, the total is not going to hit. If there is a blowout, the total is not going to hit because the script is going to change and time of possession. The only time huge totals like this happen is when there's not stops, and it's score for score, or which I'm not confining everything to this because there's different cases, but to hit 65 is pretty substantial. Like, you have to not punt, not kick field goals.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a primetime game. There is a secondary game, but this is the game, mostly because Texas fans are rooting for Oregon, probably. But the winner is the first one in. And then obviously the SEC champion is in as well. But I don't know. I know 10 feels weird. There's zero chance in hell I'm backing Oregon minus 10.
Yeah.
More for the number. Like, I would bet it differently, but I think Washington's a really good team. I think they're getting shafted a little bit, honestly.
Yeah, they're no fuck around.
If you can get Washington at 10 or more, that's my bet for this game. Alrighty, moving on to Saturday, SEC championship game. Georgia minus 5.5. The over 54.5 versus Bama. I love both of those. I think Georgia might score 54.5 by them fucking selves. Fuck you, Bama.
Yeah.
Trying to get the tide in our mentions here.
Our moderator is a fan of points, if you haven't figured it out. And he is very biased on his team love. Look, the SEC championship.
For the record, I do not like the Dogs.
Yeah, but the Georgia fucking winning is also the only chance that Texas has. So we're seeing right through you.
So historically, at least in the last, I think, 4 to 6 years, the SEC championship goes over. It just it goes
High
over.
flying.
It goes over. Obviously, a lot of those were explosive offenses.
Some of them, though, featured Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. Explosive. I don't think this. I think if Bama and Texas played again, I think it would be a different story. But that's not what we're capping here.
Oh, that's what you're hoping for, too?
Potential. Well, no, I don't want to see the rematch at all. I want Texas in, but I don't want to see the rematch. I don't think Alabama. Well, Georgia wins by 6 or more. The total goes over. Georgia is a top 10 offense in scoring, efficiency, you name it. You watch their games and you're like, man, they don't feel explosive. They are efficient. They're explosive. They make it happen. Alabama, their defense is not. They just gave up. What was it, 24? What the hell was the score last week?
I forget, but they were getting fucking gashed by Auburn.
Yeah. Auburn, for like 3 or 4 weeks, didn't even know what the forward pass was. They could not complete a forward pass to save their life. I think they played Colorado State and struggled.
Jesus.
Yeah, don't quote me on that, but pretty sure it was Colorado State or somebody equal. They just couldn't figure out how to complete a pass. Thorne struggled. He's playing Alabama last week. He looks like fucking a Heisman candidate. their back half, Georgia's back half is weak too, comparably. So I think there is opportunity. The only, I guess, devil's advocate is for Bama to win, they probably need to muck it up. But I don't think they can muck it up. I don't think they have the horses. I don't think they can manipulate it like they once could, because I think Georgia's going to dictate the pace of the game. And Milroe is going to have to throw. Georgia's back half isn't poor by metrics, but that is their weaker side. So they're Missouri, Tennessee kind of showed a little bit of it. Georgia's going to dictate the game. Bama's going to have to throw, which is going to dictate Georgia to score. So I think 54.5. Hell, it might even be up to 55.5 by now, but they're going to dictate it. That's why the 6 or the minus 5.5. I know I went on a rant about hating 5.5, but I think Georgia wins.
College is different too.
By double digits. I don't see it being close, which that's more because the media is like, oh, Bama's going to win. And I think Bama, honestly, gets their doors blown off as much as Saban gets his doors blown off. So,
yeah, I'm with you.
5.5. Taking Georgia is a little different than taking the Buccaneers or the Steelers this week. So we'll take that 5.5.
The total on those NFL games is nowhere near fucking 54.5. So 5.5 points here means a lot less than in the NFL. And Georgia's offense just looks so fucking good lately. I think that there's certainly some truth to the Iron Bowl, and maybe Auburn having so much success against Alabama is not as representative as some people might think. But again, Alabama just struggled in that game, and Georgia is so much better than Auburn, like unbelievably better. And as we said, Auburn lost 31-10 to New Mexico State, who plays in the early game on Friday, and that was in fucking Auburn. So either they were asleep while that was happening, or they're really just not that good. And Alabama thought they were going to walk through the Iron Bowl and about got fucking beat. So they might be coming out a little bit hotter here, but the reality is Georgia's just looked a lot better lately. So go Dogs.
No dogs, at least for this game. Moving on, same day, Big Ten championship game, Michigan, Iowa. You're on Michigan minus 12.5 in the first half, and we're on the over at 35.5. You also threw in the team total over 28.5 for Michigan. So they're gonna cover the over all by themselves. Is that what you're trying to tell us, Zesty?
yeah, that's a little bit of my thought process here.
I think they have to. I don't think Iowa's going to score.
They're not going to get
What's the
creative.
Iowa point total?
6.5.
Yeah.
Oh, slam that fucking under.
Oh, it's heavily juiced for the over.
Yeah. Iowa doesn't even have their best touchdown maker, which would be Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, well, minus 6.5 is like minus 150. So Iowa's going to score once, I think. But yeah, this is Michigan. Minus 12.5 in the first half might be my best bet of the weekend. The idea is They're going to come out. They can play ugly. Iowa's not going to stop. Penn State put up 31 points. We saw what Penn State did against an offense, which I guess would lead to maybe Iowa being under, but Penn State beat them 31-0. So this defense is good against Minnesota, Nebraska, Wisconsin, Michigan State. They don't have the dogs to play with Michigan. Michigan can run the ball up the middle all game long, and they'll still score 30. I think they've scored 30 in every game but one this year, if not every game. They're going to get to 30.
And they're going to run 60 times.
They might get to 35. So now, can Iowa score? This is by far the most lopsided game. I do think there's going to be a respect factor with Friends or Ferens because he is, upstanding guy. Like, they're not going to humiliate him because Michigan doesn't need to. Michigan winning in. They're not going to get cute. They're going to run an offense. Harbaugh's back. They're going to be emotional. The two best bets for this game by far are the first half minus 12.5 and the team total. I do think the over goes over because everybody thinks two top 10 defenses. The over is going to, go under. I think it's going to go as far as over 35.5 total can go, but Michigan is going to do what Michigan wants to do. Michigan will score 30 points.
What's that dude's name? Blake Corum? What's his fucking prop to score 3 touchdowns? I'd hit that.
Yeah, they didn't release any because if and when they do release props, one of the ones I like heavily is what's his name? Olsen from Oklahoma State to get 100 yards rushing against Texas. I think his number's like 91 or something like that. But as far as my betting availability, they haven't opened any player props yet. But yes, I would. Corum's going to score. Like I said, Michigan will score 30 points. So maybe the team total is the best bet.
I like the first half bets always.
Yeah. I was not going to score in the first half. I would take that bet too.
Well, Michigan's going to not go crazy in the second half, but they might go crazy in the first.
Yeah. And the reason I didn't take the 22, it's not that it's a lot of points. It's just that's when the touchdown that doesn't matters. And I didn't want, I didn't want to really fuck around with that. So
Yeah,
I think they cover the line too. Like I said, I would not be surprised if it's 38-0 at all. 38-7.
Yeah, I think that's generous. But I'm
you.
no Iowa fan.
No, I think all that shit makes sense. I think the only issue you potentially run into is that Michigan just decides we're not going to totally destroy their ass if they get up like 28-0 in the first half, and maybe they just come out and Harbaugh says, "Let's get some number twos, some Big Ten title time." And if those guys fail to knock it into the end zone, and then Iowa just comes up with something late, so that would be the only thing that scares me about the 22. But given that is a relatively remote scenario, I'd be willing to jump behind all three of these, both the first half, the team total, the over, and maybe late the 22 as well. So I'm with you. On to Free Shoes University.
The ACC championship. Do you put Florida State on there, Zesty? So you like Florida State? They're getting 1.5 right now. Is that what you got them at?
Yeah,
No, they're laying 1.5.
Yeah. So it was 2.5 for quite a bit.
Yeah, that moves.
Louisville money coming in.
The big Kentucky Dow.
Yeah, I played around with this quite a bit. In fact, early Saturday, I predicted they would lose outright. And then I jumped into the lab, did some research. FSU is very talented in the line of scrimmage. Their defense is very good. They, I believe, top 10 in the nation. As we saw in Florida, not that Florida is a benchmark, but once they got punched in the mouth, they kind of shut down Florida. I think it was 21-3 scoring, something like that.
Not good.
Their offensive line is also bullies. I've watched quite a bit of Louisville games. Jack the Snake Plummer. We all remember Jake the Snake from Arizona days and the Bronco days. Yeah, well, his son is playing for Louisville. He is turnover prone. This is a very good Florida State defense. The better in me wants Florida State to lose. The gambler / better, if I back them, I want them to cover. But as far as, I guess I should have said, the fan in me wants Florida State to lose. But the better, Florida State is better. They're a better team, even with a backup quarterback. But it wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit if they did lose. But they're better in the trenches.
Public, you like Louisville here, or are you back in the Seminoles and Rodemaker?
You know, I just don't know how to cap this game, to be honest with you. I feel like Florida State was riding high in the rivalry game against Florida. Against fairly close. Louisville coming off a disappointing loss to Kentucky, which, you had that one, Zest, last week, knowing that Kentucky just seems to have their number. The problem that I see here is Rodemaker trying to make plays. And if he's not able to do that and Louisville's able to make some plays and not turn the ball over, they could keep this one into victory territory. But I don't see that as a very high likelihood. I do think Florida State's the more complete team. And if they can force some turnovers with that defense and give Rodemaker some short fields, hopefully they turn it into a nice little slugfest up there in the Queen City of Charlotte. And Florida State takes care of business, puts some pressure on the committee, and we'll see if they end up throwing them in the playoff, despite the fact that everybody wants to talk shit about them since Travis Hunter's not there. But I do enjoy the thought of fading Florida State against whoever the fuck they play in the playoffs. So I hope they win.
Yeah, I'm pulling for him too, as much as I like Jack Plummer. I think Louisville's strong. I just think Florida State will be hyper-focused here, and their defense is good. I like that team total under 22.5 that you threw on there, too, for Louisville, just because of what you said. Line of scrimmage, Florida State should push it both ways pretty easily. So should be able to control the game, low scoring, like the under 47.5. You threw that on there, too. So if it goes according to Zesty's plan, we should be able to turn a huge profit on this game. The last
Broncos country. Let's
game
ride.
of note, last game of note on this slate would be Oklahoma State, Texas. And you kind of mentioned it earlier. You had a prop on there. It wasn't on the sheet, but obviously we know I'm a big Texas homer. I don't know the Texas. I have no faith they cover the 15. I think that's a great number for any better, especially Oklahoma State backers. You're loving that all day. And the running back's going to go for 100 yards against Texas. Yeah, I see that. Their defense is all about making turnovers happen and coming up with big plays. They're not about stopping anything necessarily. It's just making things happen in the moment. So I expect this to be a back and forth slugfest, Big 12 matchup, and could hit an over too. I don't know what that number is. I'm sure it's in the 50s, probably high 50s. That's where it should be.
Yeah, if I recall, I think it was 54.
54 and a half, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
yeah, you hit it on the head. So I'm a Van Gundy fan. There,
Because you're a man and you're almost 40.
yeah. He, I think he's learned from some of his struggles in the Big 12 championship games, most notably last year. Oklahoma State runs the football. They used to be run and gun. They are a running team. They put on a porous effort / game film against the BYU last week and still won. And I think some of that was they wanted to hide things from Texas. We're not going to be able to hide things from Texas. Texas still has a very top 10 defense, I think. They're very good against the run, too. But when you play Oklahoma and some of the other Big 12 schools that do not run the football, it's easy to get those numbers. So you got to kind of look through that. I personally am rooting for Texas to make the championship series with Georgia, Oregon, Michigan, and themselves. I think by far that is the best consumer watched. I'm tired of watching these blowouts in the first week. As you said, I saw 15 and a half. I think I saw this morning it was 14 and a half. So, as I mentioned earlier with New Mexico State, conference championship games typically do not cover multiple possession.
Double-digit spreads, yeah.
So there's nothing I can really say or sugarcoat to make anybody love it, but I do. I think Texas is really good. Style points aren't going to matter. In fact, I don't know. I think it's all chicken shit to begin with. But at the end of the day, if it was all style points, we're not playing NC Dub here. We're not trying to run up the score. They play defense for a reason. In theory, they should play defense. If you're able to run it up, fine. But I don't think any of these games, multiple outside of Michigan, I think that's the only one that covers multiple scorers. To be honest with you. So yeah,
Well,
I hope so. I'm hoping for some competitive football this weekend. So it should be a nice slate of NFL and college.
yeah. I hate to throw Florida State under the bus, but I hope they don't make it. Just because anybody they match up with, it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's not even quarterback.
well, they're going to get Georgia, and they're going to get smoked.
Yeah, a little bit of it's quarterback. I don't know if Florida State with Jordan Travis would be that much better anyway. I think, truthfully, I think Texas has gotten the shaft for most of the year. But I do think Oregon's better than them. I think the ratings are correct in that. But also, I would argue Washington is probably better than them too. So, like, Texas isn't like a limbo. This idea that, anyway, the winner of the SEC championship's in, and if it's Alabama, Georgia's in too. That means it's Pac-12 and Michigan. That's just it. Alabama winning does not put Texas in, and it's horseshit, and it'll be brought up. There's zero chance they leave out an SEC championship, even though Texas beat them head to head. So you want Georgia to win, and just hope FSU loses, I guess, and then hope your resume is better than Ohio State, because I don't think Ohio State should be considered. But I mean, a Michigan-Ohio State national championship would be pretty interesting, but I think it's all horse shit.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting.
We're about to find out.
Yeah. Lastly, to touch, because everybody was anxious on this, our moderator brought it up. I do think the Panthers can cover 5.5 points.
Oh,
That's
no
what
stress. You think
Yeah.
this is the Bryce Young coming out party, not no Baker Mayfield making a run to the playoffs?
It's the dead coach bounce back.
it is the dead coach bounce back. And Tampa Bay, I think, has lost 6 in a row or something like that. Like, Baker's not playing terrible, but the team is not playing very good, which then leads to Bowles getting fired Sunday, Monday, whatever. I actually think the Panthers might win outright. But
Hope you're wrong about that. I like Todd Bowles.
Bonus
Yeah, me
pick, throw it on the sheet.
We got it. We got it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us again for another week. We'll see you next time.
Always a pleasure. Let's go make some money.